Welcome back. I have done a little bit of work since the last video, so I just want to show you what I did, and then we're going to do some more work today, continue the projects. So I believe in the last video I had a log set up over here on this stump that you can see. Let me actually come around to the camera so I can show you everything. Yep, so on this stump right here, and then coming back this way, I had a log set up to be milled, and I've milled that down into lumber. And then I had this really large log over here, which I have cut into two pieces. I put that up on a couple stumps yesterday. Those two stumps you see laying on their sides. Obviously it didn't work, it fell over. So I've got to get that back up today onto those stumps. And then the other half of that log I'm going to put on the big stump back there, from where I cut the tree down, and then I'll put something else under the other side of it. Take this, I just opened this section of fence up, gives me access into the garden area where I've built some beds. Let me show you those right now. So I'm going to go ahead and open this fence up here. So this fence doesn't really do a whole lot right now. It just kind of keeps neighborhood dogs, and cats, and that sort of thing out of the garden from pooing in it, digging in the beds, that sort of thing, until I can get ready to start planting. I'll do something more secure. So let me show you these garden beds. So this is the one we're going to finish up today. If you look at the far end of the garden, I got one bed put in. And this is from the pine boards that I milled out of this tree behind me. And I built the bottom box and then got it leveled out. So they're not going to be level necessarily from front to back, because this back bed right here is at a much higher plane than where that front bed is over there. And so the ground, I don't know if you can tell in the video, but the ground has a grade here and it goes down. And I didn't try to level the ground out or anything. I just leveled the beds themselves because I thought they would sit better. I will come back after I get all 5 of my beds in here built. You can see where I staked out for the other beds. I'm going to have a 2-foot walk space in between each of them. And then all of these walk areas, like you see here, are going to be covered in stone. I have some stone in the back of my property that I'll use to put a nice stone walkway in around these beds. So what we're going to do today is we're just going to go ahead and finish this bed up right here, and then we're going to get these logs behind me set up and ready to mill. So when I milled these boards, when I was milling the logs originally, I cut my top board off, and then I rotated the log and then started milling my boards down like that. So once I got all my different boards milled, I had a nice straight edge, a square edge that I could work off of. So on most of my boards, there's a few that didn't quite work out that way, but most of my boards I had a square edge to work off of, so I just pulled a square off of that to get my square edge over here. Pull my tape measure to the length I want, which I'm going 7 feet on these beds to give myself enough walk room to get around the beds in the garden, and then square it off the other end, cut it, and now I have my length board. I'll do the same thing with the next board. The third board I pulled over here, I'll start the same way, square one end off, and then I'm going to actually cut it in half, 3.5 feet, and that'll be my end cap boards for my top part of my garden bed.
So what we have here, as I showed you before, I have that square side on my boards that I milled, and then I have the natural side over here. And when I built these beds, when I built the first layer, I put the natural side down, square side up. Then what I'll do when I come back with the second row is I'll match square side to square side so it has that natural edge on top. And that's how I'm going to build the second row. Let's get started. Now that I've got my screw started, I did remember there was one extra step I had to take on the first bed, and that is because I didn't cut these to the exact same size. Some of the board widths are different than other ones. So I'm going to measure the width of the left and right longboard on the sides, and then match that width on the headboard, rip it down to so it's the correct size, and then I'll be able to mesh them up and attach them together. Got a couple blocks here. I'm just going to put on the inside. These will all get covered in dirt. You won't see them. It just holds the two levels of the beds together so they don't slide around. Probably won't matter once you get the dirt in anyways, but keeps everything nice and neat and lined. Okay, so that finishes up these two beds. The next step will be to bring some dirt in. Got a little bit of dirt left at the front of my property, but most of my dirt I've already moved to the back side of my property. And I had an old garden bed over here. I took all the old dirt out of that, moved it back there too. So it's just waiting for these beds to be built. In order to get the wheelbarrow in here, I'll have to fill these two beds first, then I'll build the next two beds in, fill those with dirt, build the last bed in the middle, fill that with dirt, and then the beds are done. I can start working on the path and getting ready to start my spring planting.